Good afternoon and welcome to Headingley. I'm Tim Maitland and here we are to see Leeds take on Hull. With me co-commentator Jim Campbell. Jim, this is a tremendous task for Hull today.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be a very tough task for Hull. They've just got to cut out the mistakes if they want to put one over on Leeds and more importantly take the 2 league points back to the Boulevard.
There's a massive crowd here at Headingley this afternoon and that's the reason why at around £250,000 a new world record signing, Ellery Hanley, the Great Britain skipper, signed from Wigan just 24 hours ago, making his debut for Leeds. And it's a traditional welcome for the Hull side by this partisan Headingley side. It's skipper Greg Mackey who leads them out. Russ Walker, Lee Jackson also with them as well. And a couple of new faces in the Hull side this afternoon. Among them wearing number 1 back in the side, Gary Nolan. He was dropped for the game against St Helens because he arrived late for training. He's the 3rd player to wear number 1 for Hull this season. Steve Hick and Steve Feather have both tried and failed. And so it's Nolan's turn to try his chance at full. The half-back partnership looks awesome enough without the addition of Ellery Hanley. For Hull. And 15, Mark Jones, and it's going to be Hull to kick off with Paul Eastwood. Low kick. Hanley's first touch for Leeds. And listen to that roar. And a warm welcome as well. Steve Durham in there with Lee Jackson with the tackle. Again, Hull looking to get in quickly. Maskell from acting halfback. And it's O'Neill who's smothered. 3-4 men in every tackle at the moment for Hull. That's Mike O'Neill playing the ball. Maskell finding Cavill Hugh. Hugh makes just a few yards as well before being brought down by Dean Busby. Schofield kicking long, and Gary Nolan's first test, and he's up to it. Chico Jackson at acting halfback, his first touch in this Hull side this season, replacing Neil Turner, who was dropped after the defeat against St Helens. Lee Jackson acting halfback, Terry Smirk, Ian Marlowe juggling with the ball and loses it. And that's offside against Lee Jackson, who kicked the ball back after Marlowe had lost the ball. And these early errors aren't what Hull need. Schofield then finds a good touch. It's Maskell who's going to tap the ball, and immediately running onto it is Sean Wayne, driving in, tackles coming in from Chico Jackson and also Brian Blacker, and now on the Hull 25. Cavill Hugh burrowing in, Ian Marlowe with the tackle. Goulding out to Schofield. Schofield looks wide. It's a strong run. Eastwood in with an excellent tackle there on Simon Irving. Gibson acting halfback to Schofield. Paul Dixon makes a half break. Has he got the support? Yes, he has. The ball there was loose. Russ Walker picks up. And Jim, that was an escape for Hull.
Yeah, I think we saw there just what Leeds are capable of. He's certainly putting the early pressure on Hull. And I think a touch for handed kick's needed for Hull to gain yardage and get some of the pressure off.
So Jackson at acting halfback. Steve Durham trying to run the ball in, get them some breathing space. Still inside the whole 25. Steve McNamara. Tackled by the man they called the king at Wigan, Ellery Hanley. The decision there is that Jackson actually knocked on. It's a real dilemma, the play the ball this season in rugby league. You can't strip the ball from the tackle. The referees quite often are at a loss to do in that situation, and quite often you'll see the penalty go to the side in possession. This time though, referee Paul Crashley decides a scrum. Bobby Goulding's going to get the honour of putting the ball in for Leeds as Colin Maskell does a shoelace up and joins the scrum. That's good possession from Leeds. Schofield now looking wide to Irving. Irving immediately wrapped up by Eastwood coming off his wing. But the penalty there given for a punch. I think Mr. Crashley is accusing Paul Eastwood of putting the fist in on Simon Irving, and a chance for early points on the board for Leeds. So using the ball and the play the ball, and already they put pressure on themselves. And Simon Irving, 99 goals he kicked last season. The man who started off his rugby career just down the road, down the Kirkstall Lane with Headingley Rugby Union Club, has the opportunity to trouble the scorers for the first time in this match. Irving then taking his time. It's a low one, it's curling, it looks good, it is. The first point on the board, an Irving penalty. Leeds go 2 up. The start Hull were looking for.
No, I think you've got to avoid giving penalties away when you've got a goal kicker of Simon Irving's calibre. It is something that Hull have got to avoid, and they were punished there, 2-0 to Leeds.
Eastwood kicks off, kicks towards the right hand side. An awkward bouncing ball, but it's picked up by David Creaser, and it's Dean Busby who comes in with the tackle on Creaser. Maskell, that acting halfback. That's O'Neill running the ball in to the Leeds 25. Cavill Hugh this time the ball carrier. Big figure of Sean Wayne driving in. And Maskell kicks long, looks for touch. It looks a good kick as well. But Gary Nolan does well not to run into touch there. And Hanley makes the tackle on Nolan on the 25.
And that's a penalty against Leeds. I think it was for offside. And it's Paul Eastwood's job to kick it into touch and put some pressure on the Leeds side for probably the first time in the game. Not the best of kicks from Eastwood, but now Hull have a chance to assert their authority. That's Steve Durham driving in. He's wrapped up by Colin Maskell and Simon Irving. To Russ Walker. With Lee Jackson bringing Gary Nolan in. Gary Nolan's had a quite good start so far. He's taken some difficult bombs. Busby, Smirk checks. But there's no runners for him. And he's easily wrapped up by Sean Wynne. Now Hull decide to spread it out towards this north stand at Headingley. Paul Harrison fails to get around the Leeds defence there, and it's the last tackle. Ian Marlowe showing his kicking prowess there as Phil Ford collects. And Ford runs the out defence for Leeds, skips around one tackle. That was good chasing by Hull, good chasing by Paul Eastwood and Lee Jackson. Now on to John Bentley. He's easily dealt with. As is Sean Wayne. Sean Wayne's another ex-Wigan player in this Leeds side. Of course, Bobby Goulding and Ellery Hanley joining him. Now Leeds look towards the right. And little chip from Bobby Goulding. Good play. And Schofield collects. Sat up superbly, but a good tackle there from Gary Nolan.
An excellent tackle from Gary Nolan. Any doubt about whether he should be the man taking over the number 1 shirt already dispelled. And he really did supremely well there to stop Ellery Hanley. But he held on to him, as I suppose he had to let his teammates get back. He's been penalised. A second chance for Leeds. A debate now between Schofield and Hanley. Simon Irving, though, has no doubts about what should happen, and he's going to go for the posts. We've had 8 minutes here at Headingley. Already Simon Irving having put a first goal over with his first attempt. 2-0 Leeds 0. This a chance to extend that lead. Irving very slow, very deliberate about how he sets himself up for this kick. Just like a golf swing, if you get everything right, it'll go over. Checks his target, checks the ball again, and he's going to sweep this delightfully over. The cheer goes up from the Leeds fans. They're 4 points nil in head. So for the second time this match, third time this match, Eastwood kicks off. This time he loops a high one up, and it's Dixon who gathers. Goes towards Russ Walker. Walker holds him, and now he's going to get bundled towards touch. Can't quite get him out of play. Now it's Irving from acting halfback, brings it in field. Walker comes across, as does Steve Durham to make the tackle. It's the other prop, Sean Wayne. Meeting his opposite number, Ian Marlowe. Masculus acting halfback. Not much yardage there for Leeds. Paul Dixon, the ball carrier. The kick coming forward. Nolan now steadies himself. Referee rules that the Leeds players were far enough back, and Nolan brought down just 15 yards away from halfway. Eastwood coming in field. Wrapped up by Wayne, Hanley and Dixon. Mackie looks for Harrison. Harrison goes in well. Suspicion of a high tackle from Sean Wayne. The referee decides not. All on halfway. That's Durham finding Marlowe. He's wrapped up by Schofield and Creaser. And again, a mistake by Hull. They concede the scrum, and Paul Eastwood below us isn't making his displeasure quiet. So Leeds with Schofield, the forward pass, well spotted there by Paul Crashley, and a cheer, an ironic cheer from the Hull fans as well. Schofield looks disgusted. Ellery Hanley's telling him not to worry. Smirk feeds the scrum and gets possession. But Crashley rules. He knocked on as he tried to gather. Smirk throws the ball away in disgust, and yet another error from the Hull side.
I think that was the right decision from Paul Crashley. It was a knock-on by Terry Smirk. And Hull have got to avoid these errors. They really have got to put some kind of sustained pressure on the Leeds line, and getting a scrum near own halfway isn't the way to do it.
Leeds again win possession, and there's Schofield looking wide to forward into the line. Beats his man inside Nolan and still going full forward, but Terry Smirk's going to wrap him up and cover him. But that set the Leeds fans going, and there was a little tussle off the ball there. Hanley, and I think it might have been Brian Blacker or Chico Jackson getting in each other's way. I think Jackson was the one who reacted and put an arm out, And Mr. Crashley has awarded a penalty against Hull. And Hull are paying dearly for these little errors, these little indiscretions. Greg Mackey goes to have a word with Mr. Crashley to find out what the decision was about. And I don't think Mr. Crashley wanted to speak too much to the Hull captain on that one. It's high enough, it looks good enough as well. The flags go up. His third successive penalty. And Hull goes 6 points down. That's becoming a bit of a regular occurrence, this for Paul Eastwood, for the fourth time in the space of 14 minutes. He places the ball in the heap of sand in the middle of the pitch and kicks off for Hull. Bobby Goulding trying to get under it, gets an awkward little kick, looks inside and finds Mike O'Neill. Walker and Jackson with the tackle. Carl Gibson from acting halfback. I don't think I'd recommend running into Ian Marlowe somehow, not if you're the build of Gibson, but he tried it. Cavill Hugh. 3 Hull players stop him. Durham, Busby and McNamara. Maskell again from acting halfback. And he finds Paul Dixon. Dixon to Maskell. Maskell loses possession. Chico Jackson's picked it up for Hull. And just now, Jim, Hull desperately need to play some rugby somewhere near the Leeds line.
Yes, I think so. They've got to exert some pressure on them. I think in the Leeds pack, Paul Dixon certainly getting on top, and he's showing the Hull forwards a thing or two.
Jackson acting halfback to Ian Marlowe. Marlowe not running with the same power he showed from the second row last season. He's not quite liking it as much from closer into the play the ball. A Smirk tries to create something, loses the ball. Durham picks up to Busby, and a bit of space now for Hull if they can ship this wide, and they can do. McNamara, that's Harrison. Harrison really should have looked outside him then. The cover came across and snuffed out that chance. Dean Busby close to losing the ball in the tackle. Looks to have picked up a knock as well. It's McNamara, looks inside for Nolan, doesn't give the ball. And Jackson, a typical run from acting halfback. No support. Smirk to Mackey. Mackey looks to Busby. No real options for him. And the bomb up by Terry Smirk. That's high and Marlowe's underneath it. Can't win it. And Terry Smirk's picked up and he's gone in. Terry Smirk, his first try for Hull. And the inquisitions are going in. Gary Schofield and Bobby Goulding asking questions from Mr. Crashley and the linesman as well. I think they felt there might have been a hint of offside. The ball bouncing away as Marlowe went up to challenge. But Terry Smirk. Spoken of in the amateur game in Hull, but not recognised by a lot of the Boulevard faithful. That try surely will have earned some of their faith in him, as Paul Eastwood. 17 minutes on the clock. This a chance for Paul Eastwood to bring the scores level. Eastwood steps up. That goes over. Well, Noel Cleal must be delighted with that score. Hull really crossing the line with their first attack of the game. And that puts a very different complexion on the match.
So Gary Schofield gets proceedings underway again. And Paul Harrison driving it out into the Leeds defence. and he loses it. Well, that's exactly not what you want near your own line. Carl Gibson was wrapped up by 3 eager Hull defenders there, but Hull have got to cut these mistakes out if they want to progress in the game. Now this is on to Mike O'Neill. £20,000 buy from Rochdale Hornets, bought by coach Doug Lawton, obviously to bring some stability to the Leeds pack. This is Sean Wayne now. Sean Wayne passes straight into touch. Perhaps a lack of support for the big front row there. And it's a scrum about 25 yards out from the Hull line. But both sides so far is showing that they're prone to making errors. I don't think anyone's guiltless on that score. A Hull pass it along the line. Paul Harrison gets a chance to atone for his error. Greg Mackey on to Dean Busby. Dean Busby perhaps thought better of passing there. On to Lee Jackson. Lee Jackson, Ian Marlowe. Again wrapped up well by Sean Wayne. He's getting through a great deal of defensive work. Now Hull switch to the other side. Lee Jackson with a typical dart from acting halfback there. Now Eastwood will kick. Now it looks as though it's flighted well. It goes over Phil Ford's head. Phil Ford gets a chance to show his steps. He's not going anywhere. Steve Durham, Ian Marlowe and Lee Jackson in front of him. Bobby Gooley on to John Bentley. John Bentley's had to come infield looking for work. He's been fairly anonymous so far. He's Paul Dixon. Paul Dixon, good work from Greg Mackey there. Stop the pass getting out. Sean Wayne. The Hull's defence looking markedly better from the ones which we've seen in the Charity Shield and against St Helens at the Boulevard. Gary Nolan collects. Again wrapped up by Simon Irving. Gary Nolan's had quite a good game at fullback so far. No glaring errors from him. Now Hull. More pressure on this Leeds side. This is Steve Durham. Both sides showing endeavour in midfield. There's Steve McNamara. Again, he's wrapped up. Leeds defence seems to have been holding out quite well so far. This is Dean Busby. Now it's the last tackle. Will we see another? Will we see a bomb from Greg Mackey? We will. It looks as though it's going to be a tester for John Bentley. His handling is rather shaky. That's proved it there. It's all on. Good pressure from Hull FC. I said John Bentley's handling had question marks over it. And could this be another try for Hull FC? Dean Busby goes inside. He's about 5 yards out from the line. This is what Hull like, close to their opponent's line where they can put the moves together. And Terry Smake. Greg Mackey. On to Russ Walker. Russ Walker scores. Great play from Greg Mackey. The short ball and Russ Walker goes over. And Hull are really causing a shock today.
I think credit for that try, Jim, should go to Gary Nolan. It was his surging run that pulled the defence across, halted them in their stride and created that gap for Russ Walker to dive in. But 2 attacks really from Hull, 2 tries, and they've taken their chances today.
They certainly have. This is good play from Hull FC. They're attacking well. The defence seems to have been up for scratch, and if they keep on like this, we could very well see a shock at Headingley today.
And all of a sudden, after the first 10 minutes or so, when all the mistakes were being made by Hull, chance to extend the lead. Not been kicking at his best this season, but surely this is meat and drink for a player of Eastwood's calibre. It certainly is. It goes through and Hull are 6 points ahead. It's Leeds 6, Hull 12. And all of a sudden, the Headingley faithful, who have come to see the King reign supreme in this game, are going a little quiet. Schofield with the kick-off. Mr. Ian Marlowe runs straight at Simon Irving. Eastwood comes in field. Eludes the tackle of Gibson, can't get away from Sean Wayne though. And now Steve Durham looking for support, finds it from Terry Smirk. That's Busby to Mackey. Mackey looks inside, he gets well hit. Goulding and Schofield as Steve Durham comes inside, a tackle a little high, well picked up by Blacker. He's wrapped up by Wayne and Goulding. Again, another burrowing run from Lee Jackson, makes a lot of useful yardage and just keeps the defence tight around the play the ball as Smirk puts in a lovely little chip to within just a couple of yards of the Leeds line, and he's brimming with confidence after his try. And Jim, you can sense the whole of the Hull side now are beginning to believe in themselves.
They're certainly clicking into gear. We've seen some good touch finders there from Terry Smirk and Greg Mackey, and I think if Hull can put some more pressure on here and come up with another try, then the game could be out of Leeds' reach.
This is typical of a Hull performance against Leeds. All the flair in the world for the Leeds side. Once the pressure comes in, and there's pressure from Chico Jackson on Ellery Hanley. Jackson trying to make his name. That's Bentley, wrapped up again by Jackson and Marlowe. And then another mistake from the Hull side. They can't afford to take the pressure off like this. And a simple offside decision lets Leeds off the hook.
Gary Schofield finds touch. The ball ricochets off the north stand roof. And the ball is sent across field by Leeds. It's on to David Creasy. Hull have looked very strong down this side. Simon Irving's found it difficult to get past Paul Eastwood. Similarly, David Creasy. On to Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill wrapped up well. Leeds do have forwards who can release the ball, but they haven't been allowed to so far by a very eager Hull defence. Maskell scurrying, trying to get some yardage. This is Bobby Goulding. Gary Schofield. Little chip from Gary Schofield. If it sits up for him, this could be a try. Schofield, and that's a good tackle from Gary Nolan. Stops him dead there. I felt Schofield was a bit greedy. He could have passed. Ellery Hanley close to the line. It's a try for John Bentley. Gary Schofield trying to chip, as we saw in his test against Australia at Wembley. Play continued. Ellery Hanley setting up John Bentley.
A simple try in the end. Gary Nolan perhaps a little lucky just to get the tap on Gary Schofield in the first place, but Hull were always stretched from the moment that break came in. It was a lovely chip from
afternoon to 12 points. Whilst sides like Leeds, who have players of the calibre of Gary Schofield and Ellery Hanley, have the ability to create tries out of nothing, whereas Hull, well, they need pressure on their opponent's line. This is Irving's fourth attempt. A very difficult kick for Simon Irving. It's on the touchline. He struck that well, but just heading wide of the upright there. So the score is Leeds 10, Hull 12. But this has really been an excellent first half performance by Hull. They've certainly took the game to Leeds, and I don't think anybody could have expected, well, certainly this result so far. Paul Eastwood to kick off. I don't think Hull should get too upset about that try. If they keep going as they have been, then I'm sure we could still see a shock here at this packed Headingley Stadium.
Paul Eastwood then to kick off for Hull. Again looks deep to this right-hand corner. And that's taken by Carl Gibson, runs in field, and runs into Ian Marlowe and Dean Busby. Maskell quickly there at acting halfback. Hanley not looking that interested in running the ball out from that position. The honour goes to Mike O'Neill. Again Maskell to feed. And that's Sean Wayne who's going to try and barge his way out. McNamara and Mackey as markers. Cavill-Hugh fed by Schofield. It's Durham and Marlowe, the two props, making the tackle as Schofield looks to kick. And that's going to be a good touch kick if the bounce favours him. It has done. And that's made some ground for Leeds. As we wait for the scrum to form, this game really is taking on a fascinating sort of shape to it, Jim.
Yeah, it certainly is. The play's been end-to-end so far. I think what Hull have got to be wary of is letting Leeds get into their stride, because they've got some class players, and if they do, it could make it very difficult for the early birds.
Strong run from Chico Jackson. Terry Smirkett acting halfback. Finds Mackey. Mackey nowhere to go, and he's hammered down. Ellery Hanley and David Creaser with the tackle. Jackson to Durham. Durham breaks through the tackle, can't quite keep on his feet. And they do miss the ability of the prop, Andy Dannett, and I suppose Carl Harrison as well, to make ground, as Steve McNamara brings the ball away. And Carl Gibson completes the tackle. Jackson, Marlowe. Last tackle. Jackson not looking. A mistake from Lee Jackson there. Eastwood was calling him, looking for the kick downfield. Leeds take possession. Schofield bounced through the tackler Smirk. Smirk gets back to make sure he doesn't get away a second time as Marlowe makes the tackle. And Hull again caught offside. Steve McNamara looking disgusted, either with himself or with Mr. Crashley. Ellery Hanley, as he tends to do, just talking to the referee, helping him through the game, I'm sure. Schofield finds touch. Haskell plays the ball, and it's Sean Wayne, first man in. And Jackson again, a converted prop, started off his career as a winger, been playing in the Hull A team as a prop forward, and he certainly does add some bite over on that left wing with his tackling. As Cavill-Hugh plays the ball, Goulding little wrap around with Schofield. McNamara was quick to react, and again Maskell, this time Hanley. We haven't seen much of him, and that's probably why he's been buried quite effectively by the Hull side. That time it's Jackson bringing him down. Maskell, Goulding, Schofield, another chip. And the penalty's going to be awarded. It looked a little theatrical. I think Mr. Crashley was left with no options there.
I think Mr. Crashley could have played the advantage there and allowed Ellery Hanley to score, although I'm not complaining. Yeah, I think perhaps there was a little bit of Italian-style diving there from Gary Schofield as he chipped through. But again, Simon Irving gets a chance to tag on 2 points, and I think a goal kicker of his calibre will have little problem.
Most popular player in Hull these days, certainly not with one half of the city, and I'm sure that won't endear him to the Hull fans either. This then a chance for Simon Irving to peg the scores back to level. And this is easiest kick of the match so far. He's missed just one, that was from the touchline. And he has no problem stroking that over to bring the scores level again. So with 7 minutes to go in this half, Jim, it's crucial as to who gets the next score.
Yeah, I think so. Whoever gets the next score will probably go on and control the game. I do think that there's very little in it between these two sides. They've both been fairly error-prone. The defences have been on top. I think the game looks as though it's going to be a repeat of last year's Headingley clash, where the score finished 22-20 to Hull.
Eastwood to kick off. Again, looks to the right-hand corner. And that's Goulding. Feeds Dixon. Irving. Tackled by Marlowe. Now it's Sean Wayne. And again, Durham's across this time. Hull props getting through plenty of work in the sun, and the dummy from acting halfback by Hanley is still going. Schofield again looking for touch, and that just a little too strong. It's the first kick he's put wrong today, and it costs his side a good 30 yards. Well, Hull win possession, a bit of a misunderstanding between Dean Busby and Terry Smirk. Smirk was going out wide to take the ball off him. Jackson, Russ Walker, had a tremendous game against St Helens last week. And of course scored the second Hull try this afternoon. Smirk to Mackey. Mackey chip forward. That's Harrison underneath it. But the whistle has blown. Harrison adjudged to have come from an offside position. And some angry words with Carl Gibson. Schofield finds touch. 10 yards inside the Hull half. We've got 4 minutes left to play now. And that's Cavill Hugh trying to burrow in. Breaks through the tackle, but Steve Durham got him at the second attempt. The other prop, Sean Wayne. Leeds props are starting to make a few yards now. It's a strength-sapping heat out there today. As Goulding looks for Hanley, can't find him, but ducks out of the tackles until Jackson finally brings him down. And Leeds with prime position and tackles to spare. Hanley to David Heron. That's Greg Mackey with the tackle. Again, Hanley crabbing sideways, but Blacker and Jackson on him, but Hanley still gets the ball away to Phil Ford. You can sense the anticipation in the Leeds fans. Ford is wrapped up by McNamara and Ian Marlowe. The last tackle, Goulding looks long, finds Irving, and he is hammered by Paul Eastwood. And Eastwood's forced the turnover. And if anything, Eastwood's come off worse from that tackle as well. Russ Walker, first man in. Jackson finds Durham this time. Durham through Maskell's attempted tackle. Eventually it's Mike O'Neill and Sean Wayne who complete the job. Again, it's McNamara. Simple rugby, just getting some yardage. Hull. 2.5 minutes left in the half. And now Eastwood to kick. That'll find a useful touch. 20 yards in to the Leeds half. And if ever there's a time you want your hooker to strike one against the head, this would be it.
It certainly will be. We'll have a golden chance to try and get a try against this Leeds side and hopefully turn the game in their favour.
But the ball's gone with the feed. And now Gary Nolan's caught out of possession. Phil Ford's going to beat him to the kick. Nolan's going to get back and make the tackle. He's managed it. The ball though has been popped out. The Hull players look to the referee, and he has given an offside decision. And that was a close escape for Hull.
You could say that was Leeds at their best. There was flamboyancy, there was flair. Phil Ford flipped the pass off the ground there, but the referee's decision is final, as they say, and Leeds get no try. Hull come up with a penalty.
And perhaps that was a sign of Gary Nolan's inexperience there. He committed himself to marking Ford as Ford looked to come into the line from the scrum, left acres of space behind him, And I think he can count himself very lucky. He did well, made the tackle in the end, just a little tap. But very lucky indeed to prevent Ford going over. And with just a minute left in this half, that could be a crucial try save from Hull. Greg Mackey inside to Durham. Jackson again to Mackey. Mackey covers up, just manages to retain the ball, but the knock-on's been given against him. And a turnover with under a minute left. Not a good idea.
Certainly not. I don't think that was a knock-on, actually. I think Greg Mackey was unlucky there. The ball went back, but Leeds have another chance.
And the penalty's given against Hull, not packing down properly. I think it was Jackson whose head was up. And Schofield immediately takes the ball off Ellery Hanley. And puts Leeds to within 15 yards of the Hull line with just seconds left in this first half. And that's Cavill-Hugh barrowing in. Steve Durham and Russ Walker making the tackle. Goulding, Schofield, Heron, Hanley, Irving outside him. The pass is gone and Bentley picks up, can't do so, and that's Brian Blacker over there as the hooter goes for half-time. A very entertaining and enthralling first half of rugby, and the second half promises a lot.
It certainly does, and I think Hull could spring a major shock here. They've got to keep the pressure on the Leeds line, but if Leeds get some more tries disallowed, I think we're certainly in with a chance.
The story of the first half then, Leeds through 3 Simon Irving penalties in the first 13 minutes, going into a 6-point lead. Hull hit back, their first attack of the game after 17 minutes. Terry Smirk chasing up his own bomb to score the try, Eastwood to goal. And then on 22 minutes, Russ Walker with a try and Paul Eastwood goal in that. And Hull looked good at that stage, 12-6 up. Then John Bentley escaped for his try on 27 minutes. A penalty from Simon Irving. And at half-time, we're all square at Leeds 12, Hull 12. Two sides back out for the second half, both sides taking their time to get onto the pitch as well. It really is very hot, not ideal weather conditions for rugby league. I think in this second half we'll see some of the forwards swapping around. I'm sure for Hull both Mark Jones and Michael Dixon will do their stints to add a bit of freshness. But this match really is well poised.
It's certainly a finely balanced match. I think even if Leeds do go on to win it, Hull can draw enough heart from the first half performance to say things aren't so bad after all.
Schofield then kicks off. It's Russ Walker. Strong running out of defence and nearly gets to his own 25. Smirk to Marlowe. Steve Durham, wrapped up by Colin Maskell and David Heron. Lee Jackson waits at acting half-back. Looks deep for Eastwood, they're going to kick early. That's a high, awkward ball for Bentley. He lets it bounce. And Bentley waits, picks up, and Crashley waves play on. Smirk immediately in with a tackle. Now it's Creaser. Smirk again, bringing him down. Mackey making sure. Schofield looking wide to Dixon, and again the Hull tacklers there in force. Maskell, Heron, Sean Wayne, Harrison, Durham and Marlowe with the tackle. That's Irving at acting half back to Goulding. Schofield tries to brush off McNamara, can't do so. Mackey makes sure. Only a hint of a knock on there. but it's Goulding who kicks deep. That's Gary Nolan just fielding the ball on his goal line, getting 10-15 yards away before Gibson and Irving wrap him up as Eastwood comes in field, makes another 10 yards. Jackson to Busby. Busby does well to hold on to that, looks inside for Harrison. Neat little play there, and Harrison picking up a good few yards. Jackson to McNamara, McNamara to Marlowe. Marlowe wrapped up by Hanley. Sean Wayne comes in to make sure. Jackson directing traffic. Busby to Mackey. Long pass out to Blacker. Blacker's got help outside him from Jackson. They reckon a forward pass. Jackson cuts inside. He's going to go into touch. Ball inside to Blacker. Blacker's got some space to run in. Mackey, though, falls down, runs into Busby, and if Mackey had stayed on his feet, there could have been danger. This is the last tackle. Jackson to Mackey. Looking wide. Finds Harrison. Harrison cuts inside. Can't quite get to the line. And that'll be Leeds possession, just 5 yards from their own goal line. And again, a mistake from Hull. They had the pressure on. They've been caught offside, and they let the pressure off.
Yes, but Hull are beginning to throw the ball around. You can forget about handling errors. I think that they've really begun to show the ball some air, and if they keep playing like that, well, we could see another try on the board.
There's a much greater confidence.
Yes, I believe so. I haven't seen Hull pass the ball around like that since the Premiership final last year.
Dixon, first man in. Maskell at acting halfback to Goulding. Goulding misses out. Dixon instead finds Mike O'Neill, the man wearing the scrum cap. And now it's David Heron, the substitute. Schofield runs around Goulding and breaks one tackle. McNamara comes back though. And they're going to have to watch that. They got caught in the Charity Shield with some runarounds. Hanley from acting halfback. Again, familiar sideways run. The crowd roar in anticipation, and that's Creaser away. Smirk misses his tackle. Just Gary Nolan left. The pass is out wide to Bentley. Bentley crosses. And that is the first sign of the Ellery Hanley magic. He set up the try.
You can put that down to the king himself. He got the ball away from the tackle. It was good support play and an excellent pass from Creaser to enable John Bentley to score in the corner. Good try for Leeds.
Terry Smirk a little unlucky with the tackle. He doesn't look quite as sharp as he should be as cover.
I thought so, but it's a very difficult job marking someone of Hanley's calibre.
Can't force his way into the lead side at the moment. Right on the touchline, and the wrong side for the right-footed kicker as well. This one's slightly easier for him. He's pulled it across the face of the posts. And that's the first bad kick we've seen from Irving today. And so Leeds have just a 4-point lead, 16-12. And I'm sure Hull will be feeling frustrated at the moment. They'd had arguably their best stage in the game. They'd looked confident, they'd switched the ball around well. They were caught offside. Leeds moved upfield immediately, and Hanley produced the break that set up Bentley's try as Eastwood kicks off. It's Dixon fielding the ball inside his own try area. Comes away, runs at Russ Walker. Walker makes the tackle. Harrison there to help as well. And it's Irving pushing the players off at acting halfback. He makes just 5 yards. running at the big men, Marlowe and Durham. The ball goes loose, and the penalty this time is awarded in Hull's favour. One of the confusions in the laws at the moment. I presume you call that not playing the ball properly?
Well, I presume so. Paul Eastwood has a chance here to put his shaky kicking form behind him. He missed one from in front of the post last week against St Helens, so goal here would certainly help his confidence.
This is a very important kick for Eastwood. Just 4 points separate the sides. And crucial that he gets these 2 points on the board just to keep the game as tight as possible. Looks good. No, just couldn't bring it round far enough. And a roar of derision from the home fans. And so an important opportunity missed. Schofield drops out. It's taken by Eastwood, knocked it backwards. The home fans don't agree. Eastwood lucky there. But he's given Hull possession on the halfway line, and Marlowe again not at full steam as he receives the ball. It's one of the problems this year for Hull. They've not really timed the runs of the first man.
I feel, as far as Ian Marlowe goes, he does have problems at prop. He's probably more suited to the second row. But yeah, right, I feel Hull need to be putting some short balls out and having runners coming onto them at speed.
Jackson at acting half, back to Smirk. Dummies, steps inside O'Neill. O'Neill's second row partner Dixon does the work as Mackey kicks upfield, slices his kick. And now there's space for Phil Ford to move in. Not that much space though, and Terry Smirk wraps him up. Jackson completes the job. Simon Irving comes in at acting halfback. Tries to sell a rather unconvincing dummy. Don't think that would have even worked in the January sales, to be honest. And people will buy anything then. It's big. Sean Wayne, another of the Wigan connection here at Headingley, along with Goulding and Hanley. That's Goulding with the ball now. That's Heron. Looks outside to Hanley. But, goes himself, and Walker struggles to make the tackle. In the end, it's Harrison who does it. And Schofield kicks for touch. Looks so lazy as he does it, but it's so effective. He could have been tapping that ball to a ball boy the way he went about it, but it's taken hold deep inside their own 22. And you sense now that this could be one of the crucial periods in the game, Jim. If Leeds score next, then can Hull come back?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult for them if Leeds do score, but Hull have come up with the possession, and I think that'll keep Leeds off them for at least the next 5 minutes or so.
It's Dean Busby, very stylish runner, the young loose forward. And when things are going well, he can be so incisive as Hull switch the ball wide. Long ball out to Chico Jackson. Takes his winger's cap off, puts his props cap on, and just sticks his head down and burrows in as Durham comes in. The call comes from Blacker. He wanted the ball. Durham couldn't deliver in time. Now McNamara looking for position. And that's a good deep kick. It's going to hold up short of the dead ball area. And Ford now again with space. He can be lethal from this sort of range. But Smirk's there, makes the tackle, and Walker makes sure.
Phil Ford appears to have taken a knock there. Very little sympathy from the Hull fans. An ironic cheer goes up. And it's Ellery Hanley to play the ball. Leeds, if they do get another try, I think they're going to be very much in the driving seat in this game. Cal Gibson driving in. Ellery Hanley. And Ellery Hanley has really been very well policed by this Hull defence. He's had little space to do one of those sideways runs that he's so famous for. It's on to Gary Schofield. Schofield kicks for touch. And Gary Nolan drives out towards John Bentley. John Bentley's up to the task. Brian Blacker. Never one to shake away at Brian Blacker, but being wrapped up there by Colin Maskell. Mark Jones has just come on the field. £120,000 buyer from Neath gets a chance to repay some of his transfer fee. Meanwhile, Hull switch play across to the centre. That was Russ Walker. Perhaps a run from Lee Jackson here. An acting half-back. Yes, he spotted the gap. It was quickly sealed up by Paul Dixon and Mike O'Neill. This is Steve McNamara. Puts a towering bomb up for Phil Ford to take. It's very little pressure on him. And the fortunate bounce for Ford there. The ball goes dead. And it's a 25-yard tap for Leeds. It appears
I think that was a blood binning. Bit of a mystery in the... Very quiet at the moment, wondering what the blood binning was about. I presume that's something to do with Mark Jones's substitution. But, oh well, one of life's little mysteries as Paul Dixon brings the ball out for Leeds. Again, Maskell at acting halfback. Hanley's missed out. Goulding to David Heron. Heron hauled down. Again, Goulding trying to orchestrate things for Leeds, but Mackey's up on him very quickly, as is Steve Durham. Maskell out to Hanley. Buzz of expectation, Phil Ford, but Jones is very quick up on his fellow Welshman. And if Ford wants to pick a fight with Jones, I think Ford should get his head looked at. Goulding, Durham up on him quickly, can't prevent him getting the ball away. That's a good long kick, but Gary Nolan's in position, gets a good bounce and picks up with some space to get away from his goal line. Runs straight into Simon Irving. It's a round of applause for his efforts, and Harrison, acting halfback, just buries his head down and runs straight at Sean Wayne. Jackson to Busby. 3 Leeds men on him. Tap on the backside from Lee Jackson, saying, come on, play the ball. Terry Smirk looks to Mackey. Mackey inside to Durham. A late hit from Hanley as... Blacker gets away, he's got Smirk inside him, space for Smirk now, where's the support? Lee Jackson on his right, finds him, but Gibson's there, and the ball comes loose. And Brian Blacker is adjudged to have been offside. And I'm going to forgive Lee Jackson for letting the ball go, because he is absolutely flat out on his back as the whole physio comes on. Keith Warner himself only just back from a very bad ankle injury playing Sunday League football. I use the term playing football in the loosest possible sense. I've seen him myself and wouldn't recommend it. But Lee Jackson at the moment is out cold. Lee Jackson looking very much the worse for wear. And Keith Warner looking very concerned, studying his jaw. I hope it's not a fracture. But, Michael Dixon, the other Hull hooker, is stretching on the touchline, waiting to come on. Now Lee Jackson very, very slowly getting to his feet. It was a crunching tackle from Carl Gibson. And I think they're going to have to help him off. Jackson again to his feet. Rob Nolan's come onto the field to help him off. And that's a sad sight for Hull fans. A warm round of applause for Jackson. So he limps off the field. Schofield to kick off. McNamara misses the trap. Walker behind him picks up. Runs straight through Hanley's tackle, but David Heron was there. Dixon, Mark Jones. Dixon going from acting halfback. He really is elusive and tremendous space off the mark, pace off the mark. He's so low down, a lot of these big men struggle to get a grip on him. Mark Jones. Eastwood kicks downfield. It's John Bentley catching it first bounce. Runs around Busby. Walker and Harrison are there though. Leeds have possession on their own 25. Simon Irving. Carl Gibson at acting halfback. The Leeds are just looking a little disorganised behind the ball at the moment. No real organisation. Now finding some space, shape as David Heron makes half a break and finds Michael O'Neill. Goulding to Hanley. To Phil Ford. Dangerous from broken play. Ford, Jinks. Ignores his winger, comes inside, is eventually hauled down by Paul Eastwood. And typical Phil Ford fashion, he plays the ball with no man at acting halfback, and that's a turnover. And that's the side of Phil Ford's play that lets him down. His head sometimes does go, doesn't it?
Certainly does, and a few heads are starting to go down in the Leeds side as well, and the once vociferous Leeds crowd is starting to get on top of the team a bit as they lose their organisation. That's a bad error from them.
Yeah, Mark Jones losing the ball. Perhaps it was a pass that Mackie shouldn't have given. He looked the first time, Jones had run behind him and then gave it. And the big Welsh prop is always struggling after that.
So it's a scrum. Goulding goes on to Schofield. Schofield tries to find some room there, but his room's closed down. Well, have done a very good job of marshalling Leeds' danger men. Schofield, Goulding, Hanley, they've all been wrapped up very well. Master. This is Cavill-Hugh. Cavill-Hugh making some valuable yardage there. Bobby Goulding. Onto David Heron. The short ball onto Ellery Hanley again. Good tackling from Brian Blacker and Mark Jones. Hanley was wrapped up in uncertain terms there. There's Gary Schofield. Now Schofield with a short ball. Paul Dixon standing in the tackle. Looks for support. Goes to Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill jinks out to one tackle, but smashed to the ground about 15 yards from the whole line. And that's a knock-on. Schoolboy error there from Colin Maskell.
And that'll put the heads down on the Leeds side. The turnover goes to Hull. Smirk lets Busby run away. Heron brings him down. Help coming in from Mike O'Neill. Dixon, Durham. Brought down by Maskell and O'Neill. That's Chico Jackson coming off his win, and the half break finds Mackey, but pass was just a little bit too strong for him, bounced off Mackey's chest. But that was a storming run from Chico Jackson, and really Hull could have built something from that.
That's one of the reasons why Chico Jackson's been into the side, his powerful running, and if only Greg Mackey could have taken that pass, I think it was a score on for Hull.
It's not often Hull score from halfway, and it would have been a treat to see that one. And Steve Durham now is struggling. A bit of a knock as Jackson put away that pass to Mackey. And again, Keith Warner working overtime today. Helps the former Bramley prop to his feet, and Goulding sticks the ball in the scrum. And then there's going to be a differential penalty, presumably against Terry Smirk. We're offside, so Schofield kicks downfield. And at last we hear some noise from the Leeds crowd. Maskell, that's Cavill-Hugh. Dixon getting in very low, and Dixon clinging on as McNamara tried to get a hand on Hugh as well. That's a turn of Paul Dixon. Pressure now on the whole line. Goulding, they look to spread it wide to Schofield. Standing still, but there's a run from Creaser. Paul Harrison spotted that very quickly and came out of position to wrap him up. And then the Great Britain partnership there. One of the most expensive partnerships in the history of rugby league, looking a little over expensive.
You could certainly say that, and I think Hull fans very pleased there to see their former favourite Gary Schofield drop the ball. It's Mark Jones. Good run there from Mark Jones, hit the advantage line well. Mike Dixon acting halfback. He's on to Steve McNamara. The Hull forwards at last, I've seen them recently, they just haven't been getting on top of the game. And now they seem to be. Terry Smith kicks downfield. Phil Ford not in position, but Carl Gibson is. Gibson collects. A chance to show his Great Britain credentials. Not much evidence of them there. He slips to the ground. Simon Irving now. Upended in no uncertain terms by Steve Durham. John Bentley. John Bentley gets a good ball. Another error from the Leeds side. Well, the game's almost reversed. It started off with Hull making all the errors, and now Leeds seem to be having problems handling the ball. And Hull in a very good position here. If they score, well, Ellery Hanley coming up with the ball there from the scrum, and Leeds spread across field towards the south stand. David Creaser spins out of one. Matt Jones and Brian Blacker forming quite an effective partnership down this right wing. Scotland. Yet another error from Leeds. It was a hospital pass, and you can hear there the head in the crowd showing in no uncertain terms they're not very pleased with their side at the moment. Terry Smirk to feed, he's about 25 yards out. Terry Smirk goes on to Greg Mackey, reverse ball to Terry Smirk again. Paul Harrison cuts infield, gets around Ellery Hanley. He's brought down. Hull have got to be organised here. He's got to keep the pressure up, no silly handling errors. Steve Durham's had a good game so far. Mike Dixon on to Russ Walker. Walker standing, looking for support. No one really up to it to come onto the pass. Mike Dixon. And to Terry Smirk again. Greg Mackey. Out to Steve McNamara. Steve McNamara gets an excellent ball there. Just short of the line. Good play there. Good interpassing between the whole three quarters. Russ Walker on the burst. Oh. Unfortunate there for Hull. They put the final pass down again. And it's a knock-on with Leeds feed. For some reason, referee Paul Crashley stopped play, maybe for some running repairs to the Leeds players. Perhaps some advice on how to keep hold of the ball. But Hull, even if they do lose, they can go away from this game really feeling as though they've achieved something. And Leeds regrouping at the moment, they've looked very disorganised and bedraggled outfit, considering they do have Bobby Goulding, Gary Schofield and Ellery Hanley in this side. So it's scrum down. Bobby Goulding feeds quite literally into the scrum. Ellery Hanley wraps up again. He's had a very quiet game by his standards. Now Carl Gibson. Carl Gibson, known in certain terms by Greg Mackey there. Mike O'Neill trying to release the ball for the Leeds runners. Now this is Cavill Hugh. Made the hard yards as Cavill Hugh. It's Ellery Hanley. Ellery Hanley slips. Oh, he's had a very poor game by his standards. And that's a kick from Colin Mascot. Another slip. Perhaps I should have a word about some of the studs in the boots, but here's Gary Nolan coming in, trying to get around John Bentley there, but just didn't have the pace. Neil Turner onto Greg Mackey. Steve McNamara wrapped up by Cavill Hugh and David Heron.
Crucial moments in the game now. We've got 9 minutes left to play. It's anyone's game. Leeds, of course, in pole position with that 2-point lead as Michael Dixon goes from acting halfback, breaks out of 2-3 tackles before eventually being brought down by Cavill Hugh. Plays the ball to himself and is adjudged to have knocked on, and he's furious with himself. An expensive error, that one, from young Michael Dixon. So Leeds will have the chance to clear their lines by winning this scrum. Nearly pushed off it by the whole pack. The referee Paul Crashley decides that we're going to have to do it all again. Both packs very slow to get to their feet. There's an injury there. Colin Maskell very slow to get to his feet, and again an interesting version of a feed, and a knock-on is what the crowd shout. Crashley shakes his head, says the scrum had wheeled, but Hanley definitely missed that ball and it seemed to come out. Perhaps Mr. Crashley could have let that one carry on. Certainly the whole fans will think so. As again Goulding feeds the scrum. Busby quickly out of his position from the back of the scrum to wrap him up. Leeds needing to clear their lines as Hanley breaks one tackle, two tackles. Eventually it's Dixon gets nice and low on him. Pulls him down. Mark Jones gets back to make up for his earlier error. And then comes across to help Dean Busby make the tackle on Paul Dixon. Cavill Hugh straight at McNamara. His second row partner Russ Walker makes sure, and Schofield again chips forward and can't quite gather. Smirk's going to get back to pick it up. He was caught a bit out of position there. He really should have been just a few yards back, but Hull have excellent position. We've got just under 7 minutes remaining, and again a crucial mistake made, this time by Paul Harrison. And again we're looking at a game where, if only, the mistakes are going to cost them dear. Certainly,
you could say that about the game so far. Both sides have by no means been not guilty of making mistakes.
As Leeds win the scrum, Goulding to Hanley to Irving. Irving with a bit of ground to make. Eastwood comes in high and Irving loses the ball. That'll be a penalty against Eastwood as Gibson comes in and remonstrates with Paul Eastwood. Eastwood, a sympathetic pat on the head for the prostrate figure of Simon Irving. I'm sure Mr. Irving will find absolutely no comfort for that as Russ Walker is substituted, and Lee Jackson, knocked cold a few minutes ago, returns to the fray. And I'm sure he'll have a headache in the morning. Something that could apply to Simon Irving as well. He too is proving very, very slow to get to his feet. As Lee Jackson comes on and tries to marshal the troops. Passes on Noel Cleale's instructions. G's them up, McNamara, Dean Busby, Michael Dixon, all talking to each other, all sensing that this game is still here to win. With 5.5 minutes of proper time left to play.
The crowd.
Schofield then kicks downfield. The roar goes up from the Leeds fans. And this next spell of possession is vital. Hull need it to end now as Sean Wayne goes crashing in. Maskell, Cavill-Hugh. Again, it's first man in. Maskell acting halfback to Schofield, to Goulding. Looks for his options. His option is Carl Gibson coming round from the other flank, and he's wrapped up in the end by Smirk and Greg Mackey. Creaser at acting halfback. That's Paul Dixon. Michael Dixon gets in there though to make sure. Some advantages of being that little, you get in the right positions to make your tackles. Maskell, that's Sean Wayne. And this is the last tackle. Hull must be resolute. Maskell to Goulding, the kick will come eventually. Schofield spreads it out wide to Bentley, and Bentley's wrapped up but feeds the ball out to Schofield. He's got some space, Jackson's missed his tackle, the ball goes forward, Hanley picks up, Hanley's bundled into touch. That's the 6th tackle. Ellery Hanley's still busy informing Mr. Crashley about the real rules of the game. But Hull have a chance to clear their lines, and it's important now there are no errors as Mark Jones stands up in the tackle and makes a couple of extra yards for his troubles. Lee Jackson back at acting halfback. Steve Durham standing still as he got the ball. He's going to get dumped to the ground. Michael Dixon, Steve McNamara, Chico Jackson off his flank. Looked for Lee Jackson but couldn't get the ball away. Schofield doing well to wrap him up. Michael Dixon, Terry Smirk, Steve McNamara. The ball pops loose, but Smirk's got it back. A roar from the Leeds crowd as Chico Jackson comes in at acting halfback. That was a let-off for Hull. They deserved to lose possession there. They've got away with it. Mark Jones. Cavill-Hugh getting in low, getting a boot on his head for his troubles as well. Jones plays the ball. It's Dixon to McNamara. McNamara just gets back to the 10-yard line, 10 yards inside his own area as Mackey finds Mark Jones inside. Jones just a yard away from halfway. This is the last tackle. Smirk's going to kick, and it's a good kick as well. And he finds touch just a yard outside the Leeds 25. And we've got 2 minutes remaining in this match, and still Hull trail by just 2 points. And they really could do with possession from this scrum. They don't get it. Goulding picks up Schofield. That's Bentley coming in off his wing, and that's Mackey making sure of the tackle. Ellery Hanley not had the best of games today, but he slips one tackle and he'll find Carl Gibson, but Gibson's quickly wrapped up by Lee Jackson. Excellent cover work from Jackson. Heron, Hanley. The two big lads, Durham and Jones, take care of him on this occasion. And Cavill-Hugh at acting halfback. And Greg Mackey, very brave in the tackle. Grateful of the help from Steve Durham and the helping hand to get him to his feet, as well as Maskell kicks down for touch. He finds a good touch as well. And there's not long to go in this game. Hull have got to get themselves down the field quickly. And they could start off by taking possession here. They do, and Chico Jackson's got Ellery Hanley to contend with. Tries to hand him off, can't do so. They stand up. Mackey comes in to help Jackson. And he finds Dean Busby. Busby looks inside to Lee Jackson. Jackson making yards, but Hanley's across, and the ball pops out of Jackson's hand, and now Goulding picks up. Looks around, finds Phil Ford. Ford, though, tackled. No, he escapes the tackle of McNamara. And eventually he's brought down by Paul Harrison and Michael Dixon. And McNamara looks furious with himself. Goulding, Schofield, Heron. Durham and Jackson make the tackle. This is no good to Hull, they need possession. Schofield, Sean Wayne. The seconds are ticking away. And Hull need the ball back quickly as Schofield chips through. Eastwood picks up. Schofield following up, makes sure of the tackle. And Hull have 6 possessions to get downfield. And they've used one of them getting nowhere. A smirk from Gibson tack. Dean Busby. It's a loose pass, but Jones picks up. Still Hull can't get away from their line. That's 4 tackles they've used. Steve McNamara. Ball to Chico Jackson. Jackson looks around for support. There isn't any. There is now McNamara. But he's hauled down by Sean Wayne. This is the last tackle. And I think it's fair to say this is the last chance for Hull. It's been a brave performance. As Eastwood kicks. And Ford struggles to gather the ball. Ford round Harrison. That's Dean Busby. He played 41 minutes in this half. There have been 2 lengthy stoppages. There'll be another one as Phil Ford, not for the first time, is injured. But he gets up eventually. And that's John Bentley. Again, Hull need to force the error now. They need to get possession back. The whistles starting around the crowd. They've had enough. As Hanley stands up in the tackle for Lee Jackson, makes sure. Now Leeds will be concentrating on no mistakes rugby as Cavill Hugh takes the ball within 10 yards of the halfway line. Now it's Schofield. Gibson comes inside with a dummy run. Eastwood, ferocious tackle on Schofield, who lashes out with his feet. Gibson, Goulding will kick. And that's Nolan. Still the whistles continue as Mark Jones buries in, and Hull need to organise themselves. They're looking very tired now. And they need something instantly. 43 minutes of this half now as Dixon gets nowhere, wrapped up by Cavill Hugh. Jackson at acting halfback, cuts inside, finds Dixon, no support around, and Hull desperately need to get themselves organised here. Jackson acting halfback, Smirk, McNamara, Mackey, Nolan's inside. Nolan gets the ball, and he gets the tackle as well, and he loses it. Blacker picks up. That'll be an offside decision against Brian Blacker, and I think that's Hull's last chance.
I think so, but you've got to look at today's performance in terms of the actual day itself. It was supposed to be the Ellery Hanley show. Ellery Hanley was supposed to ripple apart, and it just didn't happen. And Hull can take heart from a sterling performance today.
And again, Keith Warner's called on. Gary Nolan, the man who lost the ball in that tackle, lying flat out, holding his head, and I don't think he's there for the suntan. The Leeds fans chant the name of their new hero. £250,000 worth of talent. He certainly put some backsides on seats today. But I don't think it'd be fair to say he's set alight this game. Certainly created the try for John Bentley in the 4th minute of this second half. But as Jim Campbell was saying, his role has been a subdued one. As the king waves to his new subjects, the Leeds crowd calling for away from him. And still Gary Nolan receiving treatment. Gary Nolan there, helped off the field by his brother Rob and Keith Warner. We've had 45 minutes of this half. Gary Schofield, presumably his last kick of the game. Maskell, Sean Wayne, runs at McNamara. Maskell again. Cavill Hugh with a gash on his head. Should really be in the blood bin for that one. Maskell. That's Paul Dixon. McNamara with the tackle. Maskell again. Sean Wayne. Leeds just whiling away the time, just burying the ball in, and there's another injury for Hull. As Hanley is greeted by Brian Blacker. And that looks like Steve Durham, who's in the wars for Hull. He's had a nasty knock on his head as Schofield puts the ball out wide. Bentley coming in off his line, finds some space now, there's a chance for Bentley. Pops the ball out, looked a bit forward. Schofield picks up, can't quite find it, puts inside for Goulding, and Goulding is given the try. And that is rough justice on Hull, because that flatters Leeds.
It certainly does. Leeds, they've, for vast portions of this afternoon, have looked to have no idea of where they're going. And that try, as you say, it certainly flatters them.
It's come in the 47th minute of this second half. And that has buried. I'm sure they were expecting a more convincing performance, and it's a rather Richard Gay and Rob Nolan. As Schofield misses his kick. 20 points to 14, the hooter goes. A brave performance by Hull, easily their best performance of the season so far, and perhaps a performance that deserved a little more.
I think it deserved the win, to be honest with you, but Hull have got to wait a week and then they get a chance for revenge in the Yorkshire Cup against Leeds.
Certainly one feature that still remained was too many handling errors, a lot of balls still going loose in the tackle as well. The front row forwards not running on quite as fast as they should be, and those players, the likes of Andy Dannett, John Sharp, Richard Gay and Rob Nolan, when they're back fit and the Australians arrive, you sense that Hull's season really will pick up.
A lot can be built on here. We've seen a very good performance today from the Hull side, and well, we can look ahead with optimism to the season.
So the final score, a defeat for Hull. It's Leeds 20, Hull 14. Work today.
Yes, considering the stuff in the Galveston Tellings last week, I thought they played very well today, and they could have won it. Like we could have won at Widnes last week, but they haven't, and we have, so I'm happier than all, yeah.
You're not going to be complaining, are you?
Well, hardly, no. I mean, you'd always want to will well and win well, and the Speckies want you to win well, but you can only do in life what you let, and Hull played very well today.
Were you expecting them to return to that pressure rugby so quickly, considering how poorly they performed in the first two matches?
Well, what surprised me, I've had two games now, like the Widnes one and today's, both in very hot weather, and like there's only been a couple of tries scored by either side, which is it's quite amazing when you think, because normally when it's hot weather, if a side gets six in front, they tend to open up, you know, but there's not been a lot of gaps today. Both sides have defended well, and I think that's a credit to both sets of defences. They both worked very hard in defence.
There were mistakes made in this game, but it was a very entertaining match, wasn't it?
Yeah, but what you do find early on in the season, that players have not got the time, and it's all right going through things in a ball in training, but when you got pressured like a player knocking you over, it's a lot more difficult to get your timing right. And I think today, credit to both. There was a lot of mistakes at Widnes last week, but there has been a very entertaining game for the crowd. It's been end-to-end stuff. There's been, I mean, Hull have obviously, you know, we could learn a lot of Hull's kicking game. They do it marvellous, and put us under a lot of pressure with their kicking game today, which we've got to work on for next week.
For you as Mr Megabucks at the moment in rugby league, a world record fee and, a world-class player, it's going to take a while to settle down, or do you think he's going to start to take the world by storm instantly?
Well, he can't do any more than he's done. I mean, he had one training session with us on Saturday. He's won the man of the match, worthy I would have thought. Probably closely run by Scully, but you can't do much more than that, can you? And although he's cost a lot of money to bring here, we've had the crowd. I mean, 15,000 odd speckies. I mean, at that like, Ariane comes free to Leeds.
7 days' time, there's another encounter, this time at the Boulevard, different atmosphere, and another tough game.
Well, it's one of the toughest places to go is the Boulevard, but if we can improve on today, who knows? You've not been doing very well though lately, have you?
Doug Lawton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Easily the best performance of the season.
Without a doubt, the best performance of the season. Total commitment today. I thought we played very well. Just a few lapses again, stupid penalties, cost us a game.
You must feel a bit robbed.
The referee was, to say the least, a bit dubious, but you just have to live with that. We just have to get on with it. We have to learn to get on with it. We argued with him a little bit. Maybe we should have just got on with the game more.
Is it difficult? I mean, Ellery Hanley and Gary Schofield do talk to the referees an awful lot. Is it difficult to concentrate when that's happening?
It is difficult, yeah, but as they say, we should be professional enough now just to, black that out of our minds. I think we handled it quite well today. It didn't really bother us, but just say once or twice a couple of lads got a bit irate.
The last two games have been littered with errors. There were still mistakes today, and perhaps slightly too many, but it was a lot better.
Yeah, I think we probably halved our mistake rate today, but still the few too many, especially stupid penalties. I mean, the 3 penalty goals were kicked early on, 6-point start, and I mean, if we hadn't given them 3 penalties away, we would have been in there with a shout.
There were a couple of offside decisions as well when you had them under pressure, and that let them off the hook a bit as well.
Yeah, I think he tend to look along our line quite a bit more often than he did theirs. I think he let them lay on as well a lot more. He was talking to us, telling us to get up off the play the ball all the time, and he was just letting them lie all over the top of us.
In terms of commitment, in terms of pressure, it was there though. It's something like last season.
Well, I'd say today it was probably the most committed performance I've ever been associated with a Hull side. Probably Premiership final probably equalled it. But the spirit and the enthusiasm amongst the lads, it's just unbelievable. I know we've had a bad start to the season, but we're all looking forward to the Yorkshire Cup next week, and we're all very confident that we can have a big win.
Where can the performance improve? Where does it need to improve?
Just, as I say, mistake rate again. Our forwards, we've got to keep getting on top of sides. I thought we got on top of Leeds in the forwards today, and the backs played very well. It's just a little bit of fluency. We tend to get stuck in certain situations. We get a field position and then we get stuck. We're not quite sure what to put on next. But I'm sure Noel will work on it this week with us, and I'm sure next week it's going to be a great game.
Of course, the pressure's going to be on everyone in the side. The likes of John Sharp, Andy Dannett are close to fitness again.
Well, that's right. Both forwards, both good forwards, and I'm sure they'll be itching to get back in the side. Obviously, if them two do happen to get back in, 2 people have got to be dropped, and I'm just up. Well, I'm playing as best as I can, just making sure that it won't be me who's one unfortunate enough to drop out. Player's
player for this match, so obviously you'll be hoping to be kept in the side.
Hopefully, yeah, but Noel has different views and ideas of the games. I'm sure he'll sit and watch it on video this week, and he'll decide who he wants. But I'm quite confident that I'll be playing next week.
Pleased with your performance today?
Yeah, I was quite pleased with my performance. I've got a couple of areas still to work on in my game, and my defence has improved a lot from last season there, but I've still got a few areas to work on, and I'm just hope Noel can put me in the right direction.
Steve McNamara, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Ta.